They kept me in the aft berth of my own ship, behind a door they would not open from the inside, and for a long while I let them believe I could no longer speak. It was easier. A voice is a thing you give, and I had learned, out past the last honest star, that everything you give is taken and counted. So I lay in the cold and I listened to them come and go on the other side of the seal, the young wardens of the compact who had never crossed anything, and I let them write in their soft record that the Wayfinder Renew Coacerin had returned without words. It was not a lie. I had returned without many things. I will give the words now, once. Then I will keep the rest of my silence, which is the only property I brought home, and I will keep it until the dark takes me, which by every measure of my people should already have happened, and by some mercy or cruelty has not. You must understand first what the evening crossing was to us, because if you do not understand the honor of it, you will not understand the horror, and the horror is the only thing worth carrying out of my mouth and into your ledgers. Among the Ostrani there is no death so clean as the one you choose while you are still whole. We are a long-lived folk. We do not wither slowly the way some do. We hold our strength almost to the end, and then we go all at once, like a lamp starved of air. For us the shame is not in dying, but in being caught by it, in being seized, undignified, mid-sentence, by the thing that comes for all breathing creatures. And so we made a rite of the leaving. We called it the evening. When a wayfinder had given the compact their best decades, when their charts had filled the star ledgers and their name had been carved into the great manifests of the guild, they were offered the evening crossing, a final voyage, honored above all others, out toward the far reach that our oldest charts marked as empty. A crew was chosen. A ship was blessed. They sailed into the dark that lay past the edge of the settled sectors, and they did not come back, and we told ourselves that this was right and good, that they had gone out at the height of their strength to meet the end on their own terms, in the deep, where the first of us had come from and where it was fitting the best of us should return. We told ourselves this for 600 years. I want you to sit with the arithmetic of it, because the arithmetic is the thing that broke first, before I broke, before any of us understood there was anything to break. 600 years of evening crossings. Not many in any given generation. It was an honor, and honors are rationed, but across 600 years the number climbs. I have seen the true manifest, the one the guild keeps and does not read aloud. 4,109 crossings. Some ships small, a wayfinder and a blessing priest and a handful of kin. Some ships great, whole honored houses sailing out together into the celebrated dark. 4,000 and more voyages, tens of thousands of the finest souls my people ever made, sent with song and fire, and the whole compact watching the launchlights climb until they were lost. And not one signal back, not one beacon, not one drifting hull recovered, not one distress cry, not one final word committed to the long-range record. In 600 years of the most honored voyage in Ostrani memory, the return column of the star ledgers held 4,000 and more entries, and every single one of them read the same. Unreturned. Not lost. We did not write lost. That would have been an insult to the right. Unreturned. As if they had simply walked past the horizon of a hill and out of the frame of the world, willingly, gladly, forever. You will ask why no one questioned it. I have asked myself in the cold berth with nothing to do but ask, and the answer shames me because I was one of the ones who did not question. We did not question it because the not returning was the point. That was the whole shape of the right. You went out to meet the end. The end does not send letters. To ask, why does no one come back from the evening crossing, was like asking why no one comes back from dying. It was not a mystery. It was the definition. The absence was not a gap in our knowledge that begged to be filled. The absence was the achievement. We had built a religion out of the emptiest column in all our records, and we knelt to it, and it never once occurred to us that the emptiness might be a hand, closed around every soul we fed it, holding them somewhere we could not see. I was chosen for the evening at the close of my 190th year, which among wayfinders is early, and which I received the way you receive any honor you have not finished earning. with a pride that curdled in private into a fear I would not name. My charts had been good. I had drawn the drift lanes of the outer Cethran shelf and corrected the old errors in the approach to the coal marches, and my name was carved where names are carved, and the guild came to me with the blessing cord and the offer, and I said yes because there is no other word an Ostrani of honor can say to that offer. To refuse the evening is to say that you fear the end more than you love the dignity of choosing it. I did not want to be that wayfinder. So I said yes, and I was proud and I was afraid, and I told no one of the second thing. We were 9 aboard the Sostrenal. I will not give you all their names. They belong to their houses, and their houses have grieved them the clean way, the honored way, and I will not take that from those houses by telling them the truth of what their kin sailed into. But I will give you one name, because I carried her out and I could not carry her back, and someone in some ledger somewhere should know that she was more than a return column entry. Her name was Asa. She was our blessing priest, older than me by 40 years, and she had chosen the evening not because the guild offered it but because she asked for it, which is rarer, which is the mark of a soul truly ready. She sang the launch song as the lights of the home cluster fell away behind us. She had a low voice, a keel voice, the kind you feel in the deck of your own chest. I can still hear it. That is one of the things I brought home that I did not want. I can still hear her, and there is no one left to hear her with me. The crossing was quiet for a long time. That is the first thing no one tells you because no one who knew it ever came back to tell. The evening is mostly silence. The settled sectors thin out behind you, the beacons grow sparse and then stop. The traffic of the living falls away, and you sail for weeks into a dark that gets somehow darker, not in any way an instrument can measure, for the stars are as bright ahead as behind, but in a way the body knows. We felt it before we could name it. The crew grew still, we spoke less. Asa sang less, not from fear. Not yet, from a kind of reverence that I now understand was the reverence of the condemned, who do not know their sentence, mistaking the weight of the approaching thing for the weight of the holy. The old charts, the guild charts, the ones 600 years of unreturned crossings had never once corrected, showed the reach ahead as empty. A great blank quarter. No claims, no bodies, no hazards. The finest empty dark in the galaxy, fit for the finest of us to die in. We steered by those charts because we had nothing else, and we did not know, I did not know, not until it was far too late to matter, that the charts were empty for the same reason the return column was empty. Not because there was nothing there, because everything that had ever gone to see what was there had become part of the blankness. The empty quarter was not undiscovered. It was full. It was the fullest region in all the galaxy, packed to its edges with the honored dead of my people and the dead of 100 peoples before us, and it had been drawn empty because the only pens that could have marked it were the pens that never came home. I will tell you how I learned it was not empty, and I will tell you as much as I am able, and then I will tell you why I cannot tell you the rest. We found the first ship on the 90th day. It hung in the dark ahead of us with no light and no signal, a hull, an Ostrani hull, old in its lines but unmistakable, a guild ship, an evening ship, one of ours from some crossing generations gone. My crew wept when the shape of it resolved on the long glass. Wept with relief, you understand, because here at last was proof that the evening was not annihilation but arrival. Here was a ship that had reached the far dark and simply stopped, the way we would stop at rest, at peace, its voyage complete. We hailed it. Of course we hailed it. We were the first Ostrani in 600 years to find another, and we hailed it with our whole hearts. And Asa sang across the gap, the greeting song, the one you sing to kin you have not seen in long years. There was no answer, and there was no crew, and when we drew close enough to see through the dead ports, we saw that the ship was not at rest. It was arranged. I have no better word, and I have looked for one in the cold berth for a long time. The hull had been opened, gently, the way you open a thing you mean to study and not to break, and the interior had been laid out, not wrecked, laid out, every station exposed, every panel drawn back, every private space made open, as if the whole ship had been turned inside like a garment so that something could see all of it at once. And the crew of that ship was gone, not dead in their places. Gone. 9 berths we counted, and the manifest plate still legible by the old lettering. 9 souls sailed, and not one body, not one bone, not one mark of struggle or of dying. Only the ship, opened and arranged and read, and left hanging in the dark like a page someone had finished with and set down. We should have turned. I want to be honest in this testimony because it is the only honest thing left to me, and so I will say, we should have turned then on the 90th day at the sight of the opened ship, and we did not, and the not turning was not courage. It was the right. We were sailing the evening. We had come to meet the end, and here was the country of the end, and to flee it would have been to fail the only thing we had been sent to do. So we went on. We went on deeper, toward the source of whatever had opened that hull, and Asa stopped singing the greeting song and started singing the other one, the low one, the going down song, and I did not tell her to stop because part of me had already understood that she was right to sing it. We found the second ship on the 91st day, and the third and the fourth in the days after, and then we stopped counting because there was no counting it. The empty quarter was not empty. It was a field. Do you understand what I am telling you? The blank on the guild charts, the honored dark, the fit and fitting nowhere where 600 years of our best had gone to die with dignity, it was a field of them. Ships. Ours and older than ours and stranger than ours. Hulls of designs I did not know and could not have named. The vessels of peoples who must have come to this reach before there were Ostrani to come after them. All of them opened, all of them arranged, all of them read and set down. A whole quarter of the galaxy given over to the quiet keeping of everything that had ever sailed out to see what was there. Not a graveyard. A graveyard is where you put the dead. This was a place where the dead were kept opened, on display, arranged for a viewer, and the viewer's hand was in every hull, and the viewer itself was nowhere, and everywhere, and we were sailing straight into the middle of its collection with our lights on, singing. Here is where I must slow, and here is where you must forgive me, because here is where words begin to fail not from my unwillingness but from their own insufficiency. I will do what I can. There was no attack. I need you to carry that home above everything else, into every ledger, onto every warning stone your people will ever raise. There was no attack. Nothing fired on us. Nothing hunted us. Nothing spoke a threat or made a demand or came against us with any weapon that an instrument could see or a wayfinder could name. In all the deep field of the open dead there was no violence to witness, and that absence, I know this now, was the whole and entire nature of the thing. It did not need to attack. Attack is what you do to a thing that might escape you, that might resist, that might matter enough to fight. We did not matter enough to fight. We had sailed of our own will, singing, into the open hand of something so far beyond the reach of our defiance that our defiance was not even noticed. You do not war on the moth that flies into your lamp. You do not even see it. It simply is briefly in the light, and then it is part of the light's long record of moths. What came for us was not a ship and not a weapon and not a voice. It was I have tried 100 words and I will use the one that is least wrong. It was an attention. In the deep field among the opened hulls, we passed into a region where we were, for the first time in any of our lives, looked at. Truly looked at, the way you have never been looked at, the way nothing living is meant to survive being looked at. Every panel of the sostrenal drew open, gently, the way the others had, not by any force we could fight, but as though the ship itself had decided at last to be honest and show what it held. And we were shown. We were opened. Not our hulls, us, the 9 of us, our whole lives laid back like the panels of a ship, every private chamber of every one of us drawn open at once so that the attention could see all of it, all of what we were, all of what we had ever done and feared and hidden and been. I felt Asa's whole life pass through the shared dark of the ship as her keel voice broke off mid-note. I felt all of theirs. 9 lives opened at once in a space that could not hold them, and I will not describe what it is to be inside another soul's opened life, because it is not mine to describe and because there are no listeners fit to bear it, myself least of all. I only tell you it happened. We were read. The way you read a page and then, having read it, no longer need the page. And they set me down. I do not know why I was the one set down and not kept. I have asked the cold birth this more than any other question, and the birth has no answer, and I have come in the long silence to my own. I believe I was not spared. I think I was addressed. I think that of the 9 of us I was the one whose opened life the attention judged fit to carry a thing back, and the thing it gave me to carry was not mercy and was not a message in any word. It was itself. It let me keep when it set me down, one small unbearable fraction of what it was to have been looked at by it, so that I would carry that fraction home in my body and my people would read it in me the way that thing had read the page of my life. I am the letter. Do you understand at last? That is what came back wrong. Not my ship, though my ship came back wrong too. Every panel of it opened and never properly closed again, so that the wardens will not board it, me. I am the return the ledgers never held. I am the one evening ship in 600 years that came home, and I came home because I was chosen to be the warning. The single moth returned to the swarm still smoking, so that the swarm might, at last, learn the shape of the lamp. There is one more thing, and it is the thing I have kept longest, and I give it to you now and then I am done. When they set me down, and I woke to find the sostrenal turned, and the far dark falling away behind me and 8 empty opened berths, and the going down song still hanging unfinished in the silence, I was old. I had sailed out in the early strength of my 190th year, a wayfinder in my prime, and I came back. The wardens will tell you, the guild physicians will tell you, they have measured it and been unable to explain it and finally been forbidden to speak of it. I came back at the very furthest edge of an Austrani life, decades and decades spent, a lamp near starved of air. The looking took my years, not in cruelty. I do not think it knew or cared what a year was to me. I think that being looked at by that thing, truly and wholly looked at, simply costs a living creature everything it is, all at once. The way a candle held to a flame does not die of malice but of proximity. And I was held to it and not consumed, only nearly, only most of the way, and set down with the little that was left so I could make the crossing home before it guttered. That is why my people, when they understood, did not raise a fleet. That is why the compact, which is proud, which is old, which has never in its history left an honor dead unanswered, sealed the true manifest and struck the evening crossing from every right and drew a line on every chart around the whole blank quarter, not the old honored blank, a new blank, a marked one, a forbidden one, and sailed no ship toward it again. Because I came home and they read me, the way I was made to be read. They looked at what a single glancing fraction of that attention had done to one wayfinder, aged past his span and hollowed and left with a silence he would not lift, and they understood, without a battle, without a single shot exchanged, without ever seeing the thing itself, that there was nothing out there to fight and no way to fight it, and no reason it would ever need to fight us. It had only to be and to be seen, and the seeing would do the rest. 4,000 of our best had proven it, patiently, one honored crossing at a time. I was only the proof that finally came home to be read. They ask me, the young wardens, through the door they will not open, they ask me what it was. What lives in the far reach? What kept the open dead and looked at us and took my years and let me go? They are the age I was, in their prides and their fears, and I hear in their voices the same thing that was in mine at the close of my 190th year, the wish to know, the ache to sail out and see. And that is why I have given this testimony, once, in full, so it can be set in your ledgers and read by anyone who ever again feels that ache and mistakes it for honor. I will tell you what it was. It was not a monster. Monsters can be fought. It was not a god. Gods can be prayed to. It was the thing our oldest charts drew as empty because the only creatures who ever went to see it became the emptiness. It was the reason the return column reads the same for 600 years. It was patient, and it was vast beyond the reach of our defiance. And it did not hate us, and it did not spare us, and it will still be there when your ledgers have rotted and your worlds have cooled, keeping its open dead, waiting for the next people young enough and proud enough to sail out and be read. Do not sail out. That is the whole of the warning, and I am the whole of the proof. And now I have given the words I promised, and I am going to keep the rest of my silence. Seal the manifest. Mark the chart. Sing no launch song toward the far dark ever again. And when the young ones ask you, as they asked me, what waits at the edge where no ship returns, do not tell them a story that makes them wish to see it. Tell them only that one voyage came back, and that it came back wrong, and that it will not speak again. And let that be the whole of what they know, and let it be enough. Because I am the last living creature who will ever know more, and I would give every one of my stolen years to have known less. Asa, forgive me, I came home. I did not mean to.